The blizzard had claimed 17 lives in 3 days. Kavoro's settlement knew this because the ice wind carried their screams before swallowing them whole. The Theran people, furred, four-legged, and built for cold that would kill most species, had learned to respect the killing season. They huddled in their worn homes and burned what little fuel remained, waiting for the storms to pass. But the human outpost had gone silent 2 days ago. Elder Shakara had forbidden any rescue attempt. "Let the smooth skins freeze," she'd hissed, her whiskers trembling with ancestral fear. "They came to our world uninvited. The ice will send them back to the stars." But Kavoro Heatpaw, barely into his second winter, had heard different stories from his grandfather. Stories of the human named Captain Alara Frost, who'd shared her rations when the blight took their crops, who'd given them thermal blankets that didn't belong to her, blankets the Theran cubs still slept beneath, who'd stood between hunters and their settlement when territorial disputes turned violent, her strange projectile weapons silent but ready. When the smallest cubs, Miri, Tosk, and little Venna, went missing during a break in the storm, Kavoro had known where they'd gone. The human outpost sat 2 kilometers across the frozen plain, and cubs, foolish with youth and stuffed with grandfather's stories, would have sought shelter there when the winds returned. The search party of 6 adults moved through snow that reached their shoulders. Kavoro followed in his father's wake, too young to be there, but no one had the strength to argue. They found the outpost half buried. Its communication array snapped like a bone, its emergency lights dark. They found Captain Alara Frost 50 meters from the entrance. She was on her knees in the snow, her body curled forward, one arm extended toward the outpost she'd never reached. Her armor, that strange segmented plating the humans wore, had frost crystallized across every surface. Her face, visible through a cracked helmet visor, was blue-white, her eyes closed, her lips parted as if she'd died mid-breath. "She's gone," Kavoro's father said, his voice flat. "Check for the cubs. They must be—" "Wait!" Kavoro pushed forward, his smaller body allowing him to move faster through the snow. Something about the human's posture seemed wrong. She wasn't sprawled in defeat. She was positioned, deliberately. He reached her and pressed his paw against her armor. It was warm. "Father, she's—" The armor plating at her midsection shifted, and Kavoro stumbled back with a yelp. The chest section of her suit opened like a flower, and from within the insulated cavity emerged 3 small, furry faces, blinking against the sudden light. Miri, Tosk, Venna, all alive, all warm. "Impossible," breathed Shakara, who'd followed despite her own decree. Her suit's power core should have died hours ago. But Kavoro understood what the adults couldn't see. The suit's power hadn't kept the cubs warm. Captain Alara Frost had. His father carefully extracted the cubs, passing them to waiting arms. Kavoro moved closer to the human, studying her face. Her lips had no color. Her skin showed no sign of life. But when he pressed his ear to her chest plate, listening through the open armor cavity, he heard it. A heartbeat. Faint. Impossibly slow. But there. "She's alive!" Kavoro shouted. "Her heart still beats." "That's not possible," Shakara insisted. "No being can survive this cold with—" "Hibernation protocol," interrupted the search party's medic, a grizzled female named Torva. She'd studied with human doctors during the settlement's early days. "Humans have emergency systems. When their core temperature drops, their armor can induce a state similar to death. Slows everything. Heart, breath, brain. Gives them a chance." "Then her suit's systems protected her?" Kavoro's father asked. Torva shook her head, examining the armor's exposed power core. "Her systems failed 6 hours ago, maybe more. She used the last of her power keeping the cubs warm. She put them inside where her body heat would be trapped, then triggered hibernation for herself, knowing she'd freeze slowly. She gave them hours. Gave us time to find them." Kavoro looked at the cubs, now wrapped in thermal blankets, chattering excitedly about the warm cave the human had made for them. He looked at Captain Alara Frost kneeling in snow, her body temperature barely above death, her armor open to the killing cold so 3 Theran cubs could survive. "She knew we'd come," he whispered. "She trusted us." "She's a fool," Shakara said, but her voice cracked. Trading her life for... Get her to the warming house, Torva commanded, already wrapping heating packs against the human's neck and wrists. If her brain hasn't frozen, if the protocol worked, we might revive her. Might. They carried Captain Alara Frost back through the blizzard, her impossibly light body cradled between 6 Theran adults who'd come to retrieve cubs and found something else entirely. A human who'd chosen to freeze so their children could live. 3 days later, Kavoro sat beside her bed in the warming house, watching her chest rise and fall in shallow breaths. The human doctors from the emergency shuttle had said she'd survive, though she'd lost 2 fingers to frostbite and her recovery would take months. When her eyes finally opened, blue and unfocused, the first thing she saw was Kavoro Heatpaw curled at her bedside, keeping watch. "The cubs?" she rasped. "Safe," Kavoro said, pressing his warm paw to her bandaged hand. "Because of you." Captain Alara Frost smiled, then slept again. Outside, Elder Shikara stood in the snow, staring at the human outpost on the horizon. She'd lived 70 winters and thought she'd understood the universe, that survival meant protecting your own, that outsiders were threats, that trust was a luxury cold worlds couldn't afford. But humans, she was learning, calculated survival differently. They counted everyone as their own.